All right, part C. Once again, see if you can pause the video if you haven't already thought about this, read it through, and given it an honest effort, okay? Like, look, this is a very challenging couple of next questions, I would say. So, but give it a try. Pause it if you haven't already, read it. Okay, so hopefully you've given it your best effort, or at least read it all through and let it, sink into your brain. Well, you even had like a hint, didn't you? It looks like maybe from the hint that there are 8 total basketball players, because maybe I should say this first, I guess. Part C and also Part D. I don't know if you've looked ahead to Part D yet. I think Part D is going to ask for the mean of this list of basketball players' heights. Now look, especially when you think about that question, like what is the mean? In other words, what is the average? You need to know all of the heights to find the average or the mean. Okay? And it looks like, and for Part C, basically as well. Now, apparently there are 8 players, so hopefully you've at least thought about maybe like how many players are there? How do I know there was 8 players? Well, from this thing that's called, I think, a histogram. Okay? So if you look at this little graph or plot, okay, looks like it's telling you that there was one player that was between 72 and 74 inches tall. Looks like there was one player that was in between 75 and 77 inches tall. Looks like the number of players that were between 78 and 80 inches tall is 4 of those players. And then there was 0 players, in this interval, and then there was 2 players that were between 84 and 86 inches tall. So we're going to use both of these plots together to figure out the heights of all the players, like all 8 heights. And again, it's tricky if you failed, if you got stuck. Don't feel too bad. It's kind of challenging, I would say, again, and it's like a logic puzzle. It's like a riddle. That's kind of how it goes. So here we go. Like I said, maybe you've already figured out, like, wait a minute. The box and whisker plot is telling us that the shortest player is 72 inches tall, and the tallest player is 86. Hey, that's a good start. That's 2 out of the 8 right there. What else does the box and whisker plot tell us? Well, it tells us the overall median. Does that help? It might. Let's see. And if you know medians as well as you should, wouldn't that mean that 78 would fall between those two, cutting the data in half? So 4 and 4, and 78 would go between those 2 spots. And the lower median, so that would mean that the lower half of the data are those 4 numbers, and the upper half of the data is those 4 numbers. And therefore, the lower median would go between those 2, because like the median of just those 4 numbers, 77 would have to go between those 2 numbers, and the upper median of just those 4 numbers would go between those 2. So I think that's going to help. But what else? I guess that's pretty much everything the box and whisker plot is telling us. I guess now we can kind of go to the histogram, okay? There was one player between 72 and 74 inches tall. That's that spot. I guess this spot would be, this one player would be somewhere between 75 and 77. And I guess next there would be the next 4 spots would get taken up by players that were between 78 and 80 inches tall. And these last 2 spots are going to be between 84 and 86. So I guess that guy is going to be 86. We already filled the last spot. Well, I don't know, maybe I would say maybe please try to pause the video again right now and see if this can kind of like give you a little boost, and maybe you can finish this off on your own. Again, it is kind of a fun, almost like a logic puzzle to finish up, so give it a try if you want. All right, let's see if you were successful or if you give up. Let's see if you gave up. Let's see what the actual answer is and how you're supposed to do it. Anyway, here we go. So I look first at this spot, okay? And sometimes you just have to like do trial and error, man. Like you gotta try things and see if, I don't know, just again, trial and error. So this spot right here, again, that could be anywhere between, oh, what was I even doing? That's anywhere between 84 and 86. So between 84 and 86. So could that be 84? It could be 84. Well, if that's 84, does it make sense that that is 83? If that's 84, and for that to be the actual, because like we know that's locked in as the upper median, okay? So if that's 84, wouldn't this have to be an 82 to make that an 84? Well, guess what? That can't be an 82 because it's got to be in that interval. So that can't be 84. Well, can it be 85? Well, maybe. If that's 85, wouldn't this have to be an 81 to make the 83 make sense and be that median? So, well, that can't be 81? Because of that interval. Well, okay, I guess that settles it. It's got to be 86. Now, does that make sense? If that's 86, for that to be an 83, this number would have to be 80, which it's allowed to be. So there you go. There's another spot, just based on the fact that that's an 83, and what that's allowed to be, and what that's allowed to be. There it is. What next? If you want to pause it again, be my guest right now. But what's next is, well, I'm going to look at these spots. Because I know like all of these numbers got to be between 78 and 80. And look at that. The overall median is 78. So can that spot be 79? Can it? No. Like these spots are going to have to be 78. Okay? I mean, think about it. Do I have to kind of say anything else? I mean, if that's 78, then these two numbers also have to be 78, don't they? Considering that that's 78 and that all of these numbers got to be between 78 and 80. So that's, I don't know, that was a pretty good thing to notice, huh? And guess what? If that's 78 and that needs to be a 77, doesn't this number have to be what? What does this number have to be if that's supposed to be a 77 as like the lower median and that's a 78? Doesn't this have to be 76? That makes sense, doesn't it? If it doesn't make sense, ask me in class. So that's one left. And we can figure that out pretty easily, can't we? If that's got to be a 78 and that's got to be a 78, what would have to go here in order to make sense with the overall median being 78? Well, 78. So part C, we're now ready to actually answer it. Based on the two data displays, how many of the basketball players are 78 inches tall? The final answer is 3. This guy, and this guy. Part D is going to ask, like I said, based on the two data displays, what is the mean? Now the mean, you need to know this, that the mean, another word, is the average. Okay? Now I hope you know what the average means, or the mean. What does it mean? Think about it. The average or mean is what you get when you add all of the numbers together and then divide by how many numbers there were. So I'm doing this in live time. Now that we know all the numbers, isn't it pretty simple just to do 72 plus 76. I'm doing this on my calculator, in case you're wondering. Plus 78. Actually, wait, I'm doing this in my head. Don't need a calculator. It's all in my head. 72 plus 76 plus 78 plus another 78 plus another 78 plus 80 plus 86 plus another 86. In my head, that gets me 634. All divided by what? All divided by 8. And, all right, I've been using my calculator. And that gets me a final mean of 79.20. Whoa. This is supposed to be a new pen. 79.25. And that's it.